Hey, everybody. We're here for another edition of the Bravo Zulu live stream series. You can watch us live during this discussion on YouTube, on your X account, on Facebook, anywhere on the internet you're able to tune into the video. LinkedIn as well. So if you're watching there, this is live. We're live on air right now. You can use the comments under the video to interact with us. And I've got Amy producing in the background, who's watching all of those comments coming in, and she can put them up on screen here in front of us today, and we'll try and answer your questions. So if you're there, let's do a quick test. Just say hello, where you're from, where you're watching from, as sort of the audience gathers in here. So welcome to the live stream. Look, here's our first comments coming in. Excellent. Welcome to the live stream today. Today's live stream is all about a hazardous material response. And we're going to be talking to a statewide hazmat division. And this is where they're able to respond to statewide emergencies on a statewide basis to emergencies involving hazardous materials. Now, hazmat is an interesting space. It's a highly scientific and quite academic area of response for people who are in it. And we're interested today not only in sort of the public sector response, but how this impacts businesses, how it impacts industrial sites, pharma, healthcare. All of these sites have these complex hazmat incidents, and we'll be talking about the overlap into municipality along with the private sites as well today. So it's fantastic as people start joining in here. We might start to bring our guests in. As a reminder, we're broadcasting live, and you can interact with us in the comments. So welcome along to this live stream. Here we go. Excellent. Jim, Tom, Stephanie, would you guys like to introduce yourselves and maybe tell us who you are and what your role is in the hazmat division as a bit of a start? Tom, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name's Tom Malucci. I'm a hazmat technician. I'm an active duty firefighter for a community in the state that we're referencing here. And I'm a responder for a federal response team as well. So I work in the hazmat division of our Commonwealth. And I also work in the office that helps support it with logistics and other project management type things we're working on all the time to kind of support our team.
Fantastic. Stephanie? We've got
My name is Stephanie DeMarco. I'm the program coordinator. I'm the program coordinator for the hazmat division. I am not a hazmat tech. I have a background in project management, along with being an on-call firefighter. So when this position opened up, it was right up my alley. So I oversee both Jim, Tom, and a number of other both current and retired technicians that support our division.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stephanie. I was just interrupted you saying you're going to come on audio only because of bandwidth, but that's fantastic that you're here with us. And Jim?
My name's Jim Dennehy. I'm a retired firefighter. I did 32 years as a firefighter, and I spent 29 years on the hazmat team. Currently working in the office for the last 17 years as the computer coordinator. So I work with all the vehicles. We have 23 vehicles out around the state, and I'm in charge of all the computers and most of the software that's on board.
Wow, fantastic. Can you give a little, just a sense while we're there of what computers are on board trucks, for people not familiar? I mean, what's out there?
Well, we have what we call our TOMS units, which are tactical operations modules. And those are the main piece of equipment that respond in. And on board, there's an office space that has 4 computers with, full internet. And then we have, access to all the meters. And we can bring everything into one working space. And then we have some computers with some of the with some of the equipment that we have. I'm just in charge of making sure everything is functioning.
Can you give a sense of how many stations that's across, when you said 23 vehicles, is that right? That's across
Correct.
lots of locations, quite a wide statewide geography.
Well, so we have originally we had 6 teams, and we've combined 2 of the teams, so we're down to 5 teams that break up the Commonwealth. Each team has a strength of 45 firefighters.
Yeah.
And so then it's just geographically, we just break the state up in a way that we can manage it, and they all work together as teams. So the individual teams meet on a monthly basis, and they they train and get ready for all the responses that we have.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, thanks for joining today. We're gonna kind of open up the conversation here of around, like, how did you get into this? So Tom, why did you end up in hazmat? What drew you in to do that part?
It's an interesting field. I mean, I started in the fire service, and I got interested in, you want to learn everything. You kind of want to be a sponge, just kind of like tech rescue, all these things. And hazmat just kind of caught my attention, and I just kind of went down that rabbit hole, and like one thing leads to another. And you just kind of, all of a sudden you start realizing, like, this is a pretty complex field. It's interesting. It's complex emergencies, complex incident management, like working outside of the normal guardrails of typical emergency response calls. And that just flipped that light switch for me, where I was, gets your brain going, kind of keeps you engaged. And, you get to work with a lot of people who have a lot of experience. Jim's got 3 decades of doing this type of stuff. There's a lot of people in our system that have decades of managing complex emergencies. So there's a great pool of people to kind of mentor and learn from in that system. And that just got me hooked, going to complex emergencies and working with those people.
What does complex look like? Can you give a real, or as real as you can, example of sort of like a very complex incident? What is that?
A gasoline tanker on its side that, before that incident was transporting 10,000 plus gallons of, gasoline, diesel, all the different compartments. And you responding to a community that you might not have ever worked in, and you need to be able to integrate with their fire command structure and provide them the assets that they may not regularly have on duty that day, or all the way from.
Talk about that. What are the complexities there? I mean, with that incident, what's the complexities of this tanker?
There's so many logistical things. Like there's so many partner agencies that you have to satisfy all of their needs, all the way from like a state police organization that's worried about opening up a highway, or a local fire department that's worried about evacuating an area or shelter in place, or all of these things. And you're talking about an incident that for a community might be a once in a generation thing, but in the Commonwealth is something that we've had the benefit of being able to respond to multiple and learn from those mistakes and successes at those calls, and kind of build a plan for those things, and then be able to drop into that community, be able to communicate effectively with, like, hey, Robin, I just met you. We've done this before. This is what we think is going to happen. This is what we think will work well. And then to work through all those logistical hurdles, because then same thing, all those partner agencies have the same questions. So then we're able to provide at least a framework of, like, this is what we expect to happen, and this is what I need from you, and then understand what they need from us as well.
So you're pulling in that sort of strategic advice as nearly incident management team level of this is how the best way to handle this. When it starts to get down to tactical and operational, so you guys are doing that as well, right? You're not just advising.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what would you do with that tanker? What's an example so people understand what is a hazmat response? Well, what do you physically do?
Like, just to really oversimplify it, if there's a tanker on its side that was full of a product, and now we have to offload that. If we're just talking about like a gasoline tanker, then you're talking there's multiple compartments in there. They have to be drilled, and then the product has to be offloaded before that vehicle can then be uprated. And now you have all the variables of, like, is that leaking? Is it causing an environmental problem? Is it causing a flammability problem? We're trying to manage all those things, whether that's with, foam or damming and diking, and all those things, from having that conversation with a local emergency manager or fire chief or whoever, through, I might get thrown into one of those, or I might get thrown into the guy with the drill that's just sitting on top of the tanker. So it's, we have to be well-rounded and kind of like lean on the strengths and and weaknesses of each other and kind of work together to kind of like, okay, hey, you handle bonding and grounding. I'll go have a conversation over here, or maybe I'm the guy with the drill. It's very situational.
Fantastic. Stephanie, and you're coordinating, you're overseeing that this system is ready all the time. What does your day-to-day look like?
No 2 days are ever the same. I'll tell you that, right? So we're a 24/7 operation, and we're in my role. I'm doing everything from the technicians that go to these incidents all the way up to report to leadership of the Department of Fire Services here. And so there's a lot that happens after the incident is done. And then not only that, but to date, this calendar year, we've run 157 incidents. A lot in the fire service, but there's a lot of components that go with it. So now we're looking at resupplying we're looking at providing reports, finishing out reports. So there's a lot that goes into it. And our overall budget for our division, but the payroll of that is $4 million. We're using D4H to pay our for their time when they're responding to these incidents.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like what she said, like with 157 incidents, like she's reporting, like that. I think it's important to kind of understand, like our state system is more like when local fire and emergency services kind of like hit that level of like we don't have the people or the capability or the tools or the complex technologies or those type of things. That's when the state system is there to kind of like fill that gap. Right. So when you're talking about those 157 emergencies, those are your more complex ones than the normal municipality can handle without that outside resource, typically.
Yeah, very good. And how do you get notified? Do they escalate it up to the state?
Yeah, through like regional county controls typically, and then that works its way up to like our state control, and then from there we're dispatched as an asset. Based on our districting and our response cards, and depending on what the emergency is, it might start as a lower tiered response, then a higher tiered response, depending on what the report is and what the local fire department's asking for. We drop in as if we're like a hazmat team that exists in every community within our Commonwealth. It's just like, so we drop into that command structure. Like that fire chief that day started with the state hazmat team in their department. And then we just fall into that, so they can activate that as needed.
Fantastic. Jim, can you give people a sense of the scale of equipment? I know you're very familiar with that. Over the time you've been there, like, just how much equipment is that? And what's involved?
It's
one
truck. Every truck, we try to maintain, uniformity with the equipment. When I first started on the team, I think we had like 10 meters, and we had a library of books. And now we've probably got, I don't know, probably like 25 to 30 different meters and technology. And
a meter helps you determine what gases or chemicals are present. Is it what the materials are?
Correct. You go through steps where you're going to do a simple 4-gas meter to test for the basic stuff, and then you can work your way up through radiation, PIDs, and then we can get into Raman technology. We can get into so many different meters. The scope that we have, each truck carries probably a couple $1 million worth of equipment. And then, if we buy 1 meter, we have to buy 6 meters because there's 6, teams, and we have to make sure every team has the same assets so that they all can work to do the same tasks. Then we have a warehouse also. So the way that we utilize the software, each team is broken up as a team, and then we have a warehouse that we maintain enough equipment that we could resupply a whole vehicle easily to make sure that we are ready to go 24/7 Like I said, everything from pair of boots to a level A suit, we have, we maintain a good stock of everything.
Stephanie, how do you ensure that everybody's trained consistently across the program?
That's a great question. So in order to become part of our hazmat team, missions look to take close to 300 of standardized training before they can even be considered a part of a hazmat team. And that's standardized training on hazmat alone. That's delivered through our fire academy. Once they get on the teams, I think Jim was mentioning, each team has a monthly drill or monthly training requirement, and the technicians themselves have individual training requirements. So they need to meet tricks. And as we're seeing trends, or as new meters come out, or as new threats come out, we distribute that educational material to the districts. The software also allows us to post any job aids and material that we're delivering to the districts so that they have 24/7 access to educational material.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's a big job to coordinate all this. It's clear. And Tom, that brings you into sort of, we'll call it being ready any day for something, and not just a day-to-day event, but it might be one of those big events that you kind of described. Can you talk us through, like, or even lead a conversation with a group of what are those big kind of incidents? Like, give us a taste of the variety that you might come across.
I mean, just in the sense of like a complex emergency that we've handled.
Exactly. Yeah.
In the last few years, there was a moderate fire in a hospital, and that was a interesting emergency from the complexity of it. So one of the skills that we have, one of our specialty teams within our state system, it allows for like air monitoring. So called the TSU. They have these meters. We say meters all the time. There's a wide variety of these, but these are just air monitoring devices that we can place outside of, in like parking lots or wherever where something might be going on. So with this fire in a hospital, that was the initial concern. Like, hey, do we have to evacuate the neighboring neighborhoods as well? We were able to quickly kind of like deploy those, and then realize that like that was not as much of a concern as was initially thought it would be. Which was great. You avoided evacuating whole neighborhoods adjacent to this, which would have just been another layer of complexity. We were able to be like, no, you don't need to worry about that. We've verified that that's okay. That takes another thing off of the local incident command's plate. And then we were able to deploy that same technology that's designed to be used outside within the building. So when you had a complete evacuation of that facility, we were able to do it in a way that was very strategic, where we, instead of saying, hey, let's start on the top floor or bottom floor and work our way up or down, we were able to very directly say, no, floor number 2, let's say, in this area, you need to move people off of there, not necessarily out of the building, but you need to move people out of there. That needs to be a priority. Rather than looking at, you say, hey, here's an emergency, let's just start throwing people at it and let's work our way through it. We were able to kind of give those points where it's like, hey, this is something that you can do to do your job just a little bit higher level than just getting it done. It's like we really try to pride ourselves on using our technology and people to their capability. So that was now while all that's going on with like the technical guys in the TSU working on that specific mission and accomplishing that and getting that advice, we did have other people that were working with local fire incident command, and that were like, hey, we're managing these things. You can focus on putting the fire out. You can focus on a large scale evacuation. We're handling the different chemicals that may be in the hospital like that, and we're working with other agencies to verify things within that building that either they wouldn't have thought about in the moment because they are fighting a complex fire in a facility like that, or just maybe it wasn't in their thought process. Maybe, we're thinking about things like ethylene oxide and other stabilization chemicals when a fire department is trying to put a fire out. We can kind of come up and kind of do those other little ancillary tasks and try to just do the job as best as we can, really.
And I was going to ask you, with the air monitoring that you placed outside, what were you concerned would be in the air? What's the danger?
Anything and everything with that fire. I don't want to get too much into details, but like, potential oils and things like that could have been involved in that fire, and the smoke produced, just to kind of get a general idea of what was going away from that facility towards a residential neighborhood. But anything and everything, like Jim was referencing, some of our detection has one of the technologies is PID, which is just like a broad spectrum of like, it's going to see pretty much anything that has carbon in it. So we're looking at very specific things that we always want to see, like oxygen content, like lower explosive limits, certain things that we always look for. But then we have some broad spectrum instruments that are just looking at, like, is there really anything here? Or, we see that there's something there, but what kind of concentrations are we really looking at? Is it something that's a concern for public health? Or is it something that we can say, we see that, we acknowledge it, it's mitigated, we need to focus on other things right now?
And so people, so that they can understand this, your meters will actually identify what the chemical is. Is that?
Yeah, so some of ours are just general like instruments that are going to give you a concentration, and then other meters that we have or technologies that we have are much more geared at like identification. So like Jim had referenced, like Raman or FTIR or mass spec, like the stuff you see on like NCIS, like lab grade identification tools. A lot of what we have is like the ruggedized versions that are for agencies like us or for the military that take that same technology, but they take it and they put it in a form factor that I can walk across a parking lot, drop it on a desk, use it, give you real information right now. The contrast to that would be like, we're going to take a sample, send this to a lab, and you'll get an answer in a month. Well, that doesn't help you make a decision right now. That's kind of my job, is the right now. I need to be able to give you my best advice I can, to the best that I can and the technology can, not wait a month for a lab to tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Stephanie, for you, what's the biggest challenge in keeping sort of this large distributed team always ready? I mean, what is the biggest challenge?
I think to understand what's next, or to kind of prepare for what's next, because what's next is always unknown. Kind of that's going to impact what we're looking at for our next set of meters, and really planning for the future. I think that's probably the hardest job. I think the technicians and the support staff make everything else easy, but it's always the unknown of what's next.
Makes sense. Jim, are there things that you wish other organizations understood about hazmat risk and dealing with this? Like when the team would arrive at an incident, what is it that isn't seen, what isn't done? What are the frustrations?
Well, I think what it is a lot of people don't understand the hazardous materials side of everything, the chemicals, because we deal obviously with a lot of fire departments, and their basic, their training is for firefighting and not chemistry. So what happens is when they get something and they realize that they cannot handle it, and so now they know that there's an asset that they can call in. And so our job is to figure out when we first arrive, what is it? Meet with the incident commander. What are their goals? What do they need us to do? And then as our team forms up and everybody arrives, we work under the NIMS, the National Incident Management System, and we, give everybody tasks and jobs and teams within the team, and we try to fulfill. Everybody wants to solve the mystery, if there is a mystery, and so our job is to help them understand it, and try to get this situation mitigated so that everybody can go home safely. And that's our goal. I mean, I can honestly say, being with the team from day one, we've never had any injuries or anything like that. We work totally on safety, and so by mitigating these incidences, we bring sometimes the calm to a situation that could be, complex and and scary to some people, but the professionalism, everybody comes in and we take care of the situation as a group. Everybody's trained. I mean, we have people on the team from firefighters all the way up to chief of departments. So we have a lot of different roles that can be filled, and some people are better at some roles, than others. I hope that answers the question. It's just I kind of went off on a tangent, but it's we try to calm the chaos is what we try to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I'm hearing that, and it's so impressive how you guys come in and have to work with the local team. It's not like you're turning up and just running the incident. You have to work. I mean, is it all incidents start and end locally? I think there's some pieces around that, right, with ICS. So Tom, back to you on private sector. Some of these sites you must go to are private sector sites, manufacturing, healthcare, I'm sure private hospital, pharmaceutical production, transportation. Yep. How does it work there? Like, some of these guys have their own response teams as well, I assume.
Yeah, we've run into that. We have several facilities in the district that I coordinate training for that they do. They have that initial response within their own facility, and it's kind of funny. You work with them. We rotate our training through our area. We try to work with these people. Like, hey, you have a training room. Let's have our people come to you. We'll do our regular training there, and we can kind of get a familiarization for your facility and your people. Build those contacts before the emergency. It's been very proactive with that. We have really good feedback from our private industry partners that we work with that. But yeah, one of the big things we really try to do is, we've had complex emergencies in our district that have involved multi-million-dollar food production facilities, these type of things, and obviously priority one is the emergency, whether it's all the things that we're traditionally worried about in an emergency. But early on with that, it's kind of like that. Like, if we can do a good job, but let's do the best job. We try to make contact with that industry, because when emergency's happening and it involves a commercial, private sector business, they see that and they feel like it's almost like they're not able to come voice like, hey, can we go do this one thing? Because if we do this one thing, it takes 5 minutes, that's out of the way. It saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars by not affecting our business. And we find that these private, they respect what we're doing in handling the emergency, that they don't want to bother us with that. So it's almost like we have to seek that out. We have to be like, no, we can handle extra tasks. Like, we're handling this emergency. If you tell us that, you need X, Y, and Z, and it prevents hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss, or some sort of process, or specific material that's important to their business, we can manage that as well and help mitigate their loss in that sense. So we try to actively seek that out, because people don't really want to bother the fire department with their business when they see the other effects of what we interact with.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm really enjoying this, and we're coming close up to time. I've got one question for the three of you, which I hope you can each kind of answer, which is, we might go Tom, Jim, and Stephanie, of if you could give one piece of advice to an organization who are looking to start a hazmat response team of some type, whether they were private industry or a fire department saying we need, or a state saying we need to start building for this. Where does that, from your opinion, from your level, your background, where does that start? What are the first few things they need to do?
I would say that the main focus is on the technician doing the work. If you take care of the technician, and that kind of touches on all the things that we've talked about, where we talked about a lot of complex things. You need to provide them with the training with that, and verify that they're getting that regularly, and that we're staying up to date on that. You need to provide them with the equipment. You need to give them all the tools to succeed. Like Jim said, all these years we have almost 270 people across the state doing very complex, unusual work, and we're able to do that by managing training, managing equipment, and all these things. We're setting up the technician to succeed. and then we're allowing them to do the hard work we're asking them to do. So if you keep the person in the suit as your primary focus, and you support them with what they need, training and equipment, then I think they're going to take care of the rest of your organization.
Fantastic. Jim?
Well, to what Tom was saying, I agree 100%, is it's training. If you can get proper training, and then it's the logistical side of it. So you can have the training, but you need the equipment, and you got to maintain the equipment. So that's a key thing that we do behind the scenes, is we want to maintain the equipment. Make sure the level A suits are tested. Make sure everything is up to date as far as equipment that we're providing with them for them. So training is a key thing, and then being able to maintain that training. So just don't get trained once on it. Continue, and it's an ever evolving system. I have always said that from the day I started in the hazmat world, it's you have to learn every day. You can't just sit back and say, "Oh, I got the training. I'm good. I'll be a technician." But you learn every day. You have to learn, and then, like I said, it's the support behind the scenes, because they're very complex. You need a very strong logistical capability behind you.
Yeah, awesome. And Stephanie, for you, what should people who are starting out down the path of either maybe a statewide division, for example, or private sector hazmat team on a site, what should they look at doing?
Yeah, I think whenever your mission is the top of your mission is life safety, I think you need to be able to learn from past incidents and have great leadership, right? So we have leadership at a state level that's been working with this department or this division, but then we also have leadership at the district levels that are making those one-on-one connections with the tech, really are reaching out to us and being our eyes in the field.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for this chat. It has been great, and we're very proud to support you. So it's been a long time, I think, we've been working together, and we're very proud to do so. So thank you very much for joining. We've really enjoyed this, and I can see all the viewers across the different platforms all pressing like and share on the video. So it's great to see. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Robin.